We got your 2 for Tuesday this week, and it's going to be JD Vance versus Volodymyr Zelensky. Every time I talk about Zelensky, it gets me in trouble, but I know you guys are here for it. Let's go. Welcome back, tarot fans. So if you've been under a rock, you haven't heard that Volodymyr Zelensky had a whole kerfuffle with Trump and JD Vance in the Oval Office. There was a lot of discussion there. Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend had a whole bunch to say about Zelensky not wearing a suit. Trump did come to his defense on that. So I thought that was okay. But Trump was adamant that this war is not winnable and that he really wants Zelensky to come to the table and talk about peace talk. So I have inadvertently referred to the agreement that they were supposed to sign at the end of that press conference as a peace agreement. It was not a peace agreement. It was a minerals agreement. So for everybody in the back, I just want to say it again. I am not a Putin fan. I do think that Putin is a Russian first kind of leader. I don't think that that's a terrible thing to be a nationalist for your country and want your country to thrive and do better. I don't think that that's a terrible thing. Whatever is going on over there is his business, and everybody should stay in their lane. So if you think that I am a Putin fan, I had someone unsubscribe. What do we call it, Greg? An airport exit?
It's not an airport. You do not need to announce your departure.
They do not need to announce your departure. I welcome all conversation here. And I've said this time and time again, my father's family thought that they were Russian, but they're actually from that Ukrainian area. So they had come to the United States identifying as Russian. And when they did the 23andMe, they found out they're probably more Ukrainian. So one of the fun things is that Ukraine had voted for independence. It was in the 90s. It was in the 90s. So for 300 and some odd years, it was part of the Russian state. And that's one of the things that I do think that people need to understand, that there's more than just the last 40 years, 50 years of history that we need to look at. So the individual had said, I need to go look at the 80s. What happened in the 80s? Well, in the 80s, Yeltsin was trying to become part of NATO. And prior to that, one of the agreements was that NATO was not going to go beyond Germany. It is well beyond Germany at this point. So, is NATO encroaching on Russia and breaking a deal with them, a peace agreement with them? I don't know. World politics are very complicated. What is not complicated for me is the event that we all witnessed at the press conference, where an agreement was made to sign this minerals pact or agreement. There was an agreement made prior to that twice. Well, on one occasion, Zelensky came back from that. He flew all the way to America, got all the way into the Oval Office, and then kind of changed his tune in front of the press and tried to create a very different situation. So if there was a bait and switch, and me watching it, I do feel that he came to the table and kind of reneged on what he had promised, which was to sign the mineral agreement. Now he is in the UK. Well, he went to the UK, hat in hand. Starmer is giving him stuff. We're going to talk about Starmer on Thursday. We're going to talk about Starmer on Wednesday. We're going to talk about King Charles on Thursday. So stick around for those videos. But in this one, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to talk about how this event is going to reflect on JD Vance and also Volodymyr Zelensky in the whole, how people are going to look at it in the greater sphere. So thank you for being here. we are going to start with JD Vance. Please don't come for me in the comments. If you have a comment that you want to discuss with me, I am a student of history. I love Russian history. I think Russian history is one of the most interesting histories in the world. It is complicated, it is wild, and it covers a whole swath of territory. So if you want to have a conversation with me, bring facts. Don't tell me to go look at the 80s. Bring facts. Tell me what you're talking about, because there are a lot of different facets to every country's history. So I sound really mean today, don't I, Greg?
You're angry.
I'm hangry. No, I'm not hangry. I have a sick kid and I'm sick of it all. So we're going to be working with, hopefully this will temper me a little. We're going to be working with the Llewellyn Classic Tarot for this week. And also this is a deck that I'm not super, I haven't worked with too much, but this is the Animal Guides from Radley Valentine. Very cool deck. It's all animals, a little bit different from the Rider-Waite based decks, which this is. So you guys ready? We're going to bring up that card view. Before I do that, please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you check out my March sales. And also, both of these decks will be in the link if you would like to get them for yourself. And check out my digital academy. You can learn how to read tarot just like me. So let's go, kids. We're going to talk about JD Vance first. So I do want to say that I'm not the biggest JD Vance fan. I just don't have enough information to really draw a conclusion on him. I did purchase Hillbilly Effigy, Hillbilly Effigy, his life story, and I got it on Audible, and I didn't listen yet. I hate to say that. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to kind of watch him perform and not watch a promotional piece on him, because let's face it is a promotional piece if it's a biography or autobiography in that case. So boy, the cards are flopping today, aren't they, guys? Sloppy shuffle all over the place. Let's see how JD Vance felt in that moment when he demanded respect from Zelensky. How was he feeling in that moment? Very anxious in that moment. So the Nine of Swords, it's the same as the Rider-Waite. Just want to illustrate that for you. It's sleeplessness, anxiety, stress, but it is also a 9. Remember that 9s are completion and 10 is turning into the next phase. This was a situation that JD Vance felt was escalating and that he did want to conclude. So the insistence of Zelensky in not having a ceasefire because he doesn't trust that he's going to be protected by the West. And there it is, the Fool. We are not going to careen lightly into WW3. We're not going to do that. This recklessness is what JD Vance was trying to stop. Under the surface, what do we get? The Wheel of Fortune. He's trying collectively with Donald Trump and the rest of the West to try and turn the wheel of this. What's in our back pocket here? 3 of Swords. Now, JD Vance is a veteran. JD Vance knows what war looks like in action. This is in his back pocket. This is his suitcase position. This is the position that he does not want to return to. He wants to find peace. Just because he is a veteran does not mean that he is a warmonger. I think he sees something very interesting in Zelensky, and let's pull a couple cards on that. What did he see in Zelensky? He saw someone, oh boy. Okay, that's interesting. He saw the Star in reverse, 10 of Pentacles in reverse, and the Empress in reverse. The ends, he's not looking at what is going to happen and what the reality of what is happening. He cannot see the future where there are significant losses and a crushing defeat to the Ukrainian state. So, or the Ukrainian country as an autonomous country. So he is not seeing that. And again, I want to stress that President Trump did say that. President Trump said, you're not going to win this. And I do think that Zelensky thought that he was saying initially, I believe that Zelensky initially thought that Trump meant you're not going to win this argument. He meant you're not going to win this war. You have to come to some terms because you cannot win this war. Up top, what was J.D. Vance's main thought? Transformation, turning the situation around, convincing Zelensky what? What did he want to convince Zelensky? That this was doom and gloom. The cards are not lying, guys. The Tower card, we've got some interesting things here. What did J.D. Vance intend for the future? All right. So this is what he saw for the future, which was no going back, no home, no good spot. How did J.D. Vance see himself in that moment? As the light bringer. I think he was waiting for the light to come on for Zelensky. And I think in this moment, he said, I got to shine a little bit of a light on it. I got to rattle some cages here. It was not saber rattling as much as it was rattling a cage. Maybe a light slap across the kisser. How did he see Zelensky? He saw Zelensky as backed up against the wall. Remember what this Nine of Wands is all about, my tarot students. So the Nine of Wands is at the end of the war. You are standing firm and holding on to the things that you have won. You are embattled. Look at that guy. He's embattled. He is standing firm. And we have to make assessments at that point. How did we do? Was it worth the losses? Was it worth losing the lives, the lands, the infrastructure? Is it worth that? That is what J.D. Vance was expecting to see from Volodymyr Zelensky, or that's what he perceived. What is the hope and fear? The hope is that we can work together, that this is going to shock him into some kind of reality and out of this heroism path. Total outcome, what did we see? Justice. The justice in this situation is going to be peace and parceling things out. It is not going to be to crush their enemy. It's not going to happen. So they just don't have the means, or as Donald Trump said, the cards. I can't hear what you're saying, honey.
He must not crush his enemies.
Yes. Yes.
And hear the lamentation of the women.
So how does J.D. Vance see himself after this? Now that there's been all this press, now that there's been all this kerfuffle, there are a lot of people that say that him and Trump planned this. They bullied up against him. I don't think that they did. But let's take a look at that. Did they plan it, Greg? What do you think? Do you think they planned?
I don't know. I only saw snippets.
Yeah, if you watch the whole 50 minutes, it goes great.
I don't have the attention span anymore.
Okay.
If there's not lasers and lightsabers involved, I can't watch it.
So Gregopedia wants to see lasers and lightsabers in the next press conference. That's crazy. So I love you.
Well, that's the way I know politics through Star Wars.
All Greg knows about politics has to do with the Empire and the Resistance. So did J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, did they plan this? One card. Did they plan to good cop, bad cop on Zelensky? Was it planned? 1, 2, 3. So I do think now this 7 of Cups, and you guys have watched me long enough, you know that it's being dazzled by choices, being given choices, but it's also gaslighting. Here is the devil. Here is that 4 of Wands. In my interpretation of this, the choices that they give him, they do have to get into bed with us, the United States. So the exchange is for the $300+ billion that has been given to the Ukraine, I didn't say the Ukraine, that has been given to Ukraine, has to be repaid in some fashion. Apparently, Zelensky doesn't think that those funds need to be repaid. They were grants, they were gifts, they were handed over just because. But in this case, the choice is to align yourself with the United States, align yourself with having us mine those rare minerals, having us mine those rare minerals. And then there's a safety at home. Four of Wands. Four of Wands, we go from conception into physical. So now there is a physical presence there that can assist. So I do think that it wasn't so much that they planned to back him into a corner, but this was the plan to provide safety through an American commercial presence there. Did they intend for all of that to happen? One card. Eight of Wands. No, it was supposed to be communicating what was going on, speed and moving through. Get this done. We need to get this deal signed. So, and that way we can get things calmed down. We can quell the fire. It is an unwinnable war. That was a great, I don't know, but it was a really good transatlantic accent. That's a transatlantic. Gregopedia, are you talking to me in a transatlantic accent?
It sounds too much like Taroteca.
Canadian?
Yeah, I think I beady eyes and flashy head.
Some levity in the middle of this with Gregopedia at my side. So, how is this going to affect JD Vance's Q rating? Let's say Q rating around the world. How is this going to? Well, we'll look because the EU is really bucking everything that happened in that meeting. So let's see how JD Vance is going to how this improved or reduced the impression of him in the United States. Oh. So I do think, and we'll do one on the top. We'll do a reveal on that, and we'll do a reveal on the bottom. You ready, kids? So is the impression that he is someone looking out for home? Yes. Does this say that he is looking out for other places? I don't think so much. He's staying in his lane as a subordinate here. He's not trying to take the lead. This is, and once upon a time, I thought that Mike Pence was the adult in the room, and I kind of liked that. I liked the Mike Pence adult in the room kind of thing. Then I didn't like him so much. So is he comfortable with being the adult in the room at this point? I don't think so. I think he wanted to have a very different role, but that was a moment where he lost his patience because he could not stand to see what was happening in that moment with Zelensky kind of backing off the mineral deal. Here, he is willing to, as he says, litigate this, but in private. He wants to go back to the table and talk about it. So the overall opinion of him domestically, justice, fairness was applied, and under the surface, Three of Swords, he is someone who is mending these broken hearts. How is he seen by our European friends? This is going to be interesting. This video is longer than I thought, guys. Disruptive, not progressive, not working toward salvation, not offering any tools, and heartless, absolutely heartless. Up top, what do we got? And under the bottom. So he's seen as someone who kicked the hornet's nest by our European friends over there, by the European contingency. People think that he is trying to not correct the situation. Death is inevitable change. Remember that it's change that's happening whether we like it or not. And they see him as not stopping the changes that are happening, whether they're inevitable or not. So the encroachment on Ukrainian lands from the Russians, they see JD Vance as someone who is allowing that to happen, that he is part of this disruptive machine. Again, seeing him as on the Russian side, supporting the Russian side. So there was Hillary Clinton made some comment about. Let me pull it up here. Hillary Clinton said that essentially Trump wouldn't want to hurt Putin's feelings. It was actually in regard, she posted this in regard to Pete Hegseth ordering Cyber Command to stand down, and that Russia is not a significant cyber threat. And Hillary Clinton tweeted, wouldn't want to hurt Putin's feelings. We know how she feels about that. So European contingency, again, is looking as though we're not going into safe waters if JD Vance does not support additional effort, additional resources, additional troops sent to Ukraine, that he is looking for more kerfuffle there, and that he is not the guy to solve this problem, that he will not have the tools in his pocket to be a voice of reason in that situation, and that he is stone cold heartless, hates people, hates Ukrainians, whatever. So up here, 8 of Pentacles, they see him as working toward his own means. The Pentacles are leaning into lining your own pockets. So again, we're hearing this story about, and someone said this, it was one of the Mixtape Monday questions. I'm going to do it. I have done it in the past. You'll see it if you go back and look at my live Mixtape Monday from Monday. This is accusing them of trying to line their pockets, specifically JD Vance. Someone said Trump looks like he's not saving the economy, he's just making his friends richer. With this mineral deal, we would have had American companies in there mining those so that we can recoup our expenses that have been parceled out to Volodymyr and the Ukrainian government. Under the surface, the wild that we got this. Tarot don't lie, guys. 3 of Swords. We're seeing this. They think that he is continuing the pain. Again, we're talking about JD Vance here. So what's really going to happen out of this? So over the weekend, Zelensky did agree to the mineral deal. I do not think that it is signed yet. What's our outcome right now? I mean, things keep changing from moment to moment. What is our outcome? Justice in reverse. Strength. This is going to take a while, guys. Recklessly careening under the surface. Things are reckless in the past. We have that King of Cups. We've got to come back to the table with him. King of Wands. This is a little alarming because a King of Wands is a warmonger. He is functioning on instinct and passion and fury. He is not functioning with logic. He is not functioning with a good heart. So what do we get in the future? 8 of Swords. This looks like a stalemate. I don't think he's going to agree to that deal. I think JD Vance is going to have some struggles with this. Will JD Vance participate in negotiating? Getting this mineral deal signed. Now, remember, the Turkish prime minister has agreed to kind of mediate this. So we may see him show up at some point. So let's see. JD Vance. I think he is going to step out of the negotiations. I think the negotiations, trying to go back to the table with this particular individual, I think the relationship is broken. Let me see what his relationship is with Volodymyr Zelensky moving forward. And I am going to leave this as the last question because we still have part 2. Is this relationship correctable from JD Vance's side? Let's see. Let's see. 1. Oh, no. I'm not going any further. No, not at all. JD Vance basically has some things to say about him. So we're going to leave it at that, kids, because I want to go right into Volodymyr Zelensky's half too. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, please don't come for me in the comments. Have a discussion with me. I am a very intelligent person. I am influenceable if you come to me with reasonable facts, figures, and arguments. Just don't throw something at me and go, you're a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater. I do my due diligence. I do pay attention to the news, and I watch several different news sources. So I'm not just Fox News. I'm not just CNN. You know, I do watch several different news sources. I loved the BBC for some time, and that was my go-to for the longest time because they did seem to have kind of a middle of the road approach to American politics and European politics. So I was very keen on that. Seems to have gotten a little bit leany in the past few years, but I'm going to be back. We're going to talk about Volodymyr. So stay tuned. It'll be up a little bit later today. Thank you for watching.